Good morning, Raptors freak. Alexiot's here. Monday morning, so it's going to be a Monday memory today. And today's Monday memory is a lot different than the ones that we normally do. This memory is before the Raptors actually existed, and I'll talk more about it soon. But first, I want to cover the news of the day. Yesterday, they had the CEBL championship game in Ottawa, and it was controversial and exciting and really good and all kinds of different things, all kinds of stuff. I am going to be a little critical of what happened right now. I don't want to rain on the parade of the CEBL because, like, I think it's a great league and I want it to do really well, and I think it will do really well. But I have a couple of issues with what happened yesterday, and they're along the same lines of what Drake has an issue with right now. Drake is very pissed off about what happened last night. He was posting on his Instagram that Scarborough got robbed by the referees and stuff like that. This is the thing about the Elam ending. The Elam ending makes it really it can happen in really weird ways. In fact, the Honey Badgers won both of their most important games last night and the game in the round before at the free throw line. Because that's you play to a certain total. You don't play with the clock. The clock doesn't run out. You got to play to a certain total and number, and then when you hit that, you win the game, and that's it. Now, if the game is close near the end and the two teams are going back and forth, and the referee calls a whistle to put somebody on the line, and then they win the game at the free throw line, that is really kind of, I'm going to tell you right now, it may look cool on movies to see that dramatic cliffhanger, like, oh, are they going to make it or not? They slow motion, dramatic, all this stuff. But it's not that way for a game, like in real life. I don't like when free throws finish games. I don't like when free throws decide games. And this may be the biggest flaw in the Elam ending. It may be that they need to amend the rules to allow for the refs to swallow their whistles at the end. It's the same way in the NBA. I don't like it when the refs call a call in the last minute of the game and somebody gets on the line and that helps decide the game. I don't like it in that situation either, especially when it just ends the game. So that's cool, I guess. I don't know. To me, there's something wrong with it. And Drake was very upset about it. The Honey Badgers had been winning the whole game for the most part, and Scarborough was down, and they came back from being down like 17 points, and they were so close to just overcoming it and winning it. And this is their first year as a franchise in this league and stuff like that. That's pretty impressive that they got this far. J. Cole came to Ottawa and sat in the stands and watched his teammates try and win, Jalen Harris and the rest of the guys. Jalen had a weird game last night. I know everybody here is real interested in seeing what's going on with Jalen Harris to maybe see if he can come and play for the Raptors. But they shut him down pretty good last night. The Honey Badgers were keying on him defensively, and he didn't have a whole lot of points in one of the halves and wasn't as big of a factor. Now, Scarborough could have easily won this game, like I said, if the referee didn't call a whistle at the time. Like, seriously, I don't know if you don't let people just murder somebody on the court with a foul, but maybe you don't call any fouls right at the end and you let a basket, take care of winning this game one way or the other. I just don't like it. And I'm with Drake that I have a gripe with how it went down at the end and stuff. Like, he was funny. Listen, the MVP of the game is Christian Vital. All right, Christian Vital, who was in the Raptors Summer League. That's right, same guy. This shows you the difference in the talent between the CEBL and the NBA. Right there, this one player, Christian Vital, was the MVP of the final game in the finals of the CBL and the star. And meanwhile, he was on the summer league for the Raptors, and he was, he's not going to make our team. So that shows you the talent divide between the two and stuff like that. But Drake was dissing Vital on Instagram last night. He was saying stuff like, "You aren't the one. You aren't the one." It's so funny. Drake was being real petty. Let's just put it that way. It's really weird seeing all these celebrities being petty on Twitter and Instagram and different things like that. Drake being petty like that. Kevin Durant has been real weird and petty on Twitter recently. He's answering fans that tell him he's ruining his legacy and stuff like that. He was like, "Oh, you really know about my legacy and stuff like that. What do your perception of my legacy and all this stuff?" And he's threatening to leave Twitter yesterday, but then he deleted the tweet and stuff like that. I don't know. There's something going on with Kevin Durant up here. And it's not all sound and good and stuff like that. Good morning, Lil Ricky. Good to see you, Lil Ricky. Good morning, Tom. I saw your messages, Tom. Yeah, Rico Hines has a premiere going on right now of one of his clips. He's actually dropped the clip like just in the last 15, 20 minutes. More highlights. And in this package, we see Fred VanVleet more in it. There was a couple, I saw a bit of it already. I really like some of the passing between Fred and Scotty that I saw. Like there were a couple of things where Scotty found Freddie and Freddie found Scotty. And that's the kind of stuff we want to see. Also saw Montrezl Harrell once again posterize Koloko, but that's going to happen to a degree. Like he's going to get those bumps, the learning curve of the NBA and getting, posterized a couple times and stuff like that. And then, Gary having some nice moves and stuff like that on the bit of the clip that I saw also. Gary was playing in a pro-am in Columbus yesterday, and he was lighting it up. And the atmosphere in that gym where Gary Trent Jr. was playing in Ohio, I think it was Columbus versus Cincinnati. So it's a very good city rivalry in the middle of Ohio. And Gary, the crowd was on fire. Like they were chanting and saying crazy stuff and just having a blast. It was like one of these really crazy crowds. And Gary was the man. It was like everything he was doing, the crowd was reacting to. And the announcers on the mic the whole time during the game yelling stuff like, "Hey, this is Gary Trent Jr., NBA, Toronto Raptors." He's yelling in the mic. And it was just a really cool atmosphere. And it was cool to see Gary kind of being a badass in Ohio at that game and stuff like that. Lil Ricky saying, "Man, that looks like a vicious car accident." Yeah, we're going to get to this, Lil Ricky. We're going to get to this. This is a very interesting story. Tom Duke saying it was a lot of repeated stuff. Fred VanVleet looks great. So Tom viewed the new Rico Hines clip that just dropped, and he's telling us there's a lot of repeat stuff from other stuff. But I don't understand the rhyme or reason with the scheduling and when they're dropping them. They're dropping one first thing Monday morning. They're dropping one in the middle of the night on a Friday night and stuff like that. It's all good. Just keep it coming, Rico. You could be dropping this until preseason. I'll be very happy. Just keep dropping more and more clips and stuff like that. Saying stuff. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Tom sees the accident photo. All right. I'll start talking about this. All right, listen. Normally I do a Monday memory. It's about the Raptors, but listen, there never would have been no Raptor Freak. There never would be this channel. I wouldn't even know that the Raptors ever existed or their name if something had happened on August the 15th, 1994. I was 18 years old. I was a freshman at Florida State. I had just finished my first year as an undergrad, and I was having my summer of craziness. Guys, I'm an alcoholic. I've been very open and honest about this. I haven't had a drink since 2010, almost 12 years, but I was a very seriously bad alcoholic. And when I was 18 years old, I was a FSU Tallahassee party Seminole. And I was all about tailgating. I was all about going to Seminole football games. I was all about house parties. I was all about doing a lot of stupid, knuckleheaded stuff. For being that age at 18, I was a teenager. And, it's Tallahassee's different than Toronto. The stigma of drunk driving here in Toronto is much higher. They look down on you really badly if you have DUIs or if you've been drinking and driving. And that is the way it should be. I agree with that. But in Florida, it's not this way. Your gym teacher has a DUI. The mayor has a DUI. The weatherman on the TV has a DUI. So there's people all in the community that have DUIs. So it's not as stigmatized. And because FSU is in Tallahassee, it's a college town. And it is very much a party city for sure. And growing up there in high school, you kind of get involved in the college party scene early, even though you're in high school still. And this is definitely the case with me. I was going to FSU parties when I was like a junior at high school and stuff like that. So I had a very serious drinking career already at the age of 18. So I'm not telling this story to romanticize it or do anything like this. This is a cautionary tale. This is a tale about taking alcohol very seriously and responsibly. That I am an advocate against drunk driving, and that this story is about telling you guys why, and not that nobody should be doing it. It's a really, really bad thing that causes all kinds of pain and misery in our society all the time, and it really should be cut out, and there should be harsh penalties for it. In fact, I think that from this incident I should have had much harsher penalties, because I ended up getting more DUIs even after all this and stuff like that. Let me just see what you guys are saying real quick. Raymond Jacobs saying, in 94, when I was 9, I almost died when a drunk driver hit me while riding my bike, shattered my left leg, wore a cast for over a year. Oh my God, Raymond Jacob. I'm so sorry to hear about that. This is the same year I had this wreck. And I guess Raymond's a little bit younger than me. And maybe, I don't know. Like, that's awful, Raymond. And I hate to see it from this end. Like, was that here in Canada? Monique's saying, Lex, it's hard to tell my story. I'll bet, Monique. Like, your story, yeah, and but it needs to be told, and it's something that everybody, you can be inspiring by telling your story, Monique, and a great role model for other people in all kinds of different ways and stuff like that. Lil Ricky saying, I was driving my work truck on my way to the job site. The light turned red at the intersection. This mom and 6-year-old daughter across the street in a car ran the red light and killed her. It was right in front of me. The piece of trash drove off, but luckily they tracked him down. The mom lived, but the daughter died. That's awful, Lil Ricky. Wow. Wow. These are tough, tough stories to read and to hear about. I hate hearing about what's happened to Raymond Jacob and what Lil Ricky saw. That is not cool. So basically, in the year 94, I finished my freshman year at Florida State, and I was in full party mode. I worked at Baskin Robbins, and I had like 5 or 6 girlfriends. I was out of control. I was basically like a Viking, running around, beer, party, fun. And I wasn't sleeping. I was working and then spending time with different girlfriends at different times of the day, and just being really like out of control, way out of control. So by the time August came in that summer, I was really not taking care of myself correctly. I wasn't sleeping. I was drunk most of the time, and all kinds of stupid stuff. I went to a party that was not far from my house. In fact, I could have walked very easily from this party back to my house. And I remember I was drinking Ice House, which is a really shitty old beer that they used to sell in the States that they don't have anymore. I mean, that's how bad it was. Usually beers stick around forever. But yeah, I was really in a bad drunk, and I was driving home, and it was a Sunday night on August the 15th, a Sunday night, late Sunday night, early morning, around 4 a.m. And I fell asleep at the wheel going up a hill, and it was raining, and there was a curve on the road in this area near my house where I lived. I lived in an area that was near old Spanish Mission in Tallahassee, like very old explorers, like Spanish explorers who first came to North America, set up a mission next to where my house was. And there's like a historical site with like all this old stuff, like buildings and like people that wear the old garb and do reenactments and stuff going on there and stuff. So there's a lot of weird energy around that area from like history and civilizations, like people before me, like from the 1600s and stuff, Ponce de Leon stuff. Let's just put it that way. Hernando de Soto, stuff like that. So I'm going up the hill, and it's raining, and I'm almost home. And what they say is true, that when you're almost to your house, you let your guard down. And I did. I fell asleep, and I went right. There's a curve, and I went straight on the road, and I ran right into telephone pole, bounced the car off around the curve, and landed on the side street. Now, that car in that picture is a 1979 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. It's a 305 V8, and it's a very big metal 70s car, like a car that's made out of metal, not like the way they make cars these days. It had a real chunk and a strongness to it that actually probably saved my life. Because I hit that telephone pole, I hit the embankment, and the whole left side of the car caved in and actually pushed me into the passenger seat because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt also, but that actually might have saved me also. But I do advocate everybody wear your seatbelt. That if I had been wearing my seatbelt, I might have been pinned on the driver's side and not pushed over to the passenger side and stuff like that. So the car landed on a side road, on a dirt road, and it landed perfectly. Like it looked like the car had just pulled over onto the side. Now, I was asleep. I woke up when I had the impact and I came and I slid and I was like, oh crap, this is really bad. Now, being an alcoholic and being an idiot, an addict, and a young college student, my first impulse was to run away and to try and get out of trouble. So I'm in the car and I know I'm messed up. I know I'm messed up. I hear the car hissing. I hear like all this kind of stuff. I don't have any visual memory because this is very dark. It's the middle of the night. Like I said, it's like 4 a.m. on a Sunday night, Monday morning in the middle of August in Tallahassee. And at that point in time, there's no university going on. So it's summer. There's a break between summer semester and fall semester and there's nobody on the road. The only people that be on the road at that time in Tallahassee would be the drunks and the cops. And well, I was laying in the car and I was like, I got to get out of the car and get away from it so I'm not caught in it. So I tried to get out of the car. I did not know that the dash of the car had pinned my left leg down. Like it was down and I couldn't do anything. So I tried to lift my arm to open the door to get out, and I lifted my arm and it was hanging like this, like just hanging. Like the elbow, I couldn't manipulate the elbow joint at all, but I could move my hand. I could move my fingers, but my elbow was completely shattered and I could not lift it. So I took my other arm and grabbed it and lifted my arm out of the door and tried to open the door this way, banging into it by grabbing the handle because I could still use my hand, but I couldn't use my elbow at all. It was the weirdest feeling in the world to have like your shattered elbow and still be able to use your hand. It was so weird. And I didn't realize, like I said, the dash had actually pinned me down by my leg. So I wasn't getting out no matter what. In fact, they were going to bring the jaws of life to get me out of the car. So I'm in the car. I can't get out of the car. I'm like feeling blood. Yeah, that I'm feeling blood. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm feeling blood. And what I mean is it coming out of me. Like literally, I'm feeling my life leaving me. And I know what that feels like. And it's scary as hell. Like when you get that close to dying and all the blood is running out of you, you literally do start to see the light. You do start to have your life flash before your eyes. It's insane, y'all. I'm going to tell you right now, this near-death experience changed my life in a lot of ways because I found answers about what happens. I seen the realness of it. You do literally have, like, I was like, listen, this is what I said. I said, listen, if I'm going to fucking die in this car today, if I'm going to die in this car right now, I don't want to die and fighting it. I don't want to get all upset and sad and miserable. I want to be at peace. So I literally was doing my own last rites for myself. In that moment, I was telling myself, you're dying right now. You do your last rites and live and die in peace. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking happy thoughts. I'm thinking about like, this is when I'm 18 and stuff like that. I would say, okay, well, you went to Europe. You got to travel a little bit. You got to, you ended up losing your virginity already. I had different things going on in my mind and saying, okay, this is what you've accomplished at 18. And if you're going to die right now, this is okay because this is what you've accomplished. But it's crazy. And it's true. You start to have your life flash in front of you. Like you see old memories. You see times from back in the day. You see different people that are important to your life when you're sitting there dying. It really does happen. That light, that weird tunnel they talk about, I saw that and I saw different memories coming up. It's real weird, real weird. And all of a sudden, I felt an overwhelming presence of my dead grandfather who had died 10 years earlier almost, or like 9 or 8 years old earlier. And he was telling me, it's so weird. It was him. I know it was him. He was telling me it's not your time yet. And he basically was shoving me back from that light back into my body. It was so weird, y'all. And he said, it's not your time yet. He pushed me back. And all of a sudden I heard a voice. And it was the voice of a police officer. He's saying, are you okay? Oh my gosh, are you okay? And I couldn't see him. I could hear him, and I could hear fear in his voice when he was talking to me. And I don't know, I'm messed up in the car. I'm bleeding to death. I'm dying. And I'm giving him answers, even though I'm 2 sheets of wind, drunk and dying and bleeding to death. I'm giving him answers. I'm saying, this is my address. This is my name. This is my age, and giving him all the answers. And I could tell that cop was scared. Yeah. He was scared because he saw what I looked like, and he didn't think I was going to do it. I was going to make it or any kind of thing. He was freaked out. So he called, and they came, and oh my gosh, they got the jaws of life. They ripped me out of the car, and they took me to the hospital, and they saved my life. I had 6 surgeries that night, like over 3 or 4 days. I didn't wake up until Wednesday. I had the wreck on Sunday, and I didn't wake up till Wednesday. And by that point, I had had 6 surgeries and 72 staples in my body, and they had saved my life. My parents got a call late that night, an awful call. And I'm sorry, Mom, about me being in the hospital. Well, the cop told me later, listen, this is crazy. His name's Eric Childs. I want to say thank you, Eric Childs, for saving my life 27 years ago today. He's a sergeant now. I don't know what he does now, but Eric Childs, Tallahassee Police Department, thank you. This is the weirdness. Is like, I think cops can do a lot of bad in this world, but they do a lot of good too. And this is an example that they do save lives. I know this firsthand. So, all right. Basically, what the cop told me, what Eric Childs told me, was that when he drove by and saw my car on the side of the road, the way it was pulled over on the side of the road, the way it landed, looked like I had just pulled over. And the way he drove by, at first he only saw the right side of the car, which was pretty undamaged. It was pretty good. It was in pretty good shape. And then he drove by, and he said, for some reason, I looked in my rear view at your car. I could have just driven right by it and not even stop. But I looked in the rear view, and I saw the left side of the car, and I knew, oh crap, I need to come back, because he thought it was just a car that just pulled over onto a side road, the way it looked when he came by. So if he had just driven on, I would be dead. I would be dead right now if he had just driven on. It's crazy. It's crazy, y'all. I had to go through like learning how to walk again. I had to go through, like, I shattered my elbow. And to this day, and most people don't realize this right when they meet me, I hide it and they don't notice it, but I had range of motion on this arm is gone since that wreck for 30 years now, almost. I cannot straighten this arm because of that wreck. And it changed all kinds of things from my career path, because I couldn't do a lot of jobs and get through the physical check because my arm just don't straighten out no more. It's got metal in the middle of it, and I can hit somebody with it, it'll hurt, but I have a metal elbow. And my femur was broken in half. I lost 4 or 5 inches of the bone completely in the middle of my leg. And they had to put a steel rod in there, and they chipped pieces off my hip bone, and it recalcified and grew back. I actually grew back my femur from doing that. I broke both my collarbones, and the dash cut my face in half. If you look real close, I have scars. Like, I have a scar that goes right down the middle of my face, and my lip was literally hanging off of my face in this whole wreck from the dash cutting my face in half. So I went through all this stuff. I went through all the physical pain of getting through the surgeries, the shame. I had to spend my 19th birthday in a hospital bed, and all my girlfriends started to come see me, and they started seeing me at the same time. And I'll tell you what, I get the wrath of those girlfriends in the bedroom when you're in traction. You have a pin through your leg and up in the bed, and you can't get up and get away or anything like that. You have to sit there and take it. I'll tell you, some of the pain, the physical pain of the injuries, it was not as bad as the verbal and the pain. I felt the shame for how I had been acting in this whole situation. And there were levels to this. There's the physical recovery, there was the emotional recovery, then there was the legal recovery because I went to court. I got a DUI. I had to go and do all kinds of stuff for it and got in trouble for it. And I was in a wheelchair for months. And I felt like every time I went somewhere, I'd be at the mall. They see a young guy like me in a wheelchair like that. Oh, drunk driver. Oh, drunk driver. Yeah, and I felt branded by it, and I felt like a criminal. I felt like, well, I was, and I was bad, and this is how I should have felt, shame. And then once I finished with the legal stuff, it was a psychological thing. I got suicidal. I hated myself. I thought I was a waste because I ruined my arm and I messed up my life. So there were levels to it. And this is the crazy thing. If I had died that night, I would never even known the Raptors. They had never played yet. They wouldn't play until the next fall in 1995. And when I think about that, it really blows my mind that I could have been dead August 15, 1994, but I'm not. And I got to see this, and all this stuff has happened since. It's crazy. I'll tell you right now, do not drink and drive. There's nothing glamorous about it. If you have a drinking problem and you get behind the wheel on the regular or anything like that, please get help because this is really, really bad. I've always advocated about this ever since. And on this day, this is what I do. When I was on FM radio in the Florida, on this day, I always did a PSA over the radio, just talking about drunk driving and encouraging young college students and young people coming to Florida State or any other place in the world to not do it, to be responsible. In fact, I tell people these days, don't drink just because everybody else is drinking. In fact, alcohol in some ways is just a couple molecules off from being gasoline. That it isn't good for our bodies. Sure, it has a certain effect and people enjoy it. Some people really do, but it really can destroy your life, especially if you're an addict and you get addicted easily and stuff like that. Now, I wish I could say I never drank again after that day, but I didn't. I kept drinking. I drank right up until 2010. I had to lose a marriage and a couple careers still to really feel the full effect of alcoholism and how it can destroy your life. And that's a part of the reason why, at being 46, I am where I am in my life in certain ways because alcoholism robbed me of 20 years of my adulthood. I didn't get sober until I was 35, drank from 15 to 35. And now I have more life not drinking, because I'm 46. I only drank for 20 years. That means I got 26 years not drinking in my life. So that's pretty good. I'd go to AA. AA saved my life. I started going to the rooms and at 35, and thank God I've stayed sober since then, 12 years now. And the old timers in there would tell me, it's like, you're lucky. You came here at 35 and found this place and got clean sooner. I wish I had. I did it in my 60s. I did it in my 50s and stuff like that. So I encourage people, if you have a drinking problem, get help. It's never too late. It's an important thing for your health and the people around you that care about you. Trust me, because I had caused a lot of sadness and stress and heartbreak in all kinds of different ways and stuff. And it's not glamorous. It's not fun. And I'm ashamed of what I did and that whole thing that I was so proud of at the time. The college students or people in that atmosphere of being young, rebel and being reckless and being absolutely crazy. Don't, please. You can really, really screw your life up. Just trust me. You really, really can. Now, if you guys, we can talk about this more, but I pretty much said everything I wanted to say about this. I feel really, really lucky and blessed that I'm alive today, that I got to see the Raptors win a championship in 2019, and I got to see that we even have a team. So thank you, Eric Childs. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. Seriously. And this is, man, all right, let me see what you guys are saying. All right. Monique saying Scotty and Delano working out that 3-pointer is nice. Yeah, Scotty and Delano are in Miami together, and now Delano's in LA. Scotty was playing laser tag last night on his Instagram. he likes playing stuff with his younger friends and his friends around his age. He'll go bowl with them. He's done a lot of bowling this summer, and now he's at laser tag last night, shooting up laser tag with his buddies. Raymond Jacobs saying, "Yeah, Canada happened where I live back then in Regent Park." Okay, when Raymond got hit on the car by the car on the bike. Car wasn't speeding or anything, but I flew over the car. It was a little kid. That's awful, Raymond. Yeah, this is a big deal. This is a big problem. And I'm glad that Canada is different than Florida was with it, that this is the right way. And in fact, it has hurt me being somebody that has 4 DUIs in Florida. When I tell somebody that here in Toronto, they look at me differently. They look at me more like a serial killer or a rapist or somebody really, really bad. And that's rightful in some ways. But it's a really bad sickness, and I was like, I can blame a lot of different things. I can blame the culture of the college town in Tallahassee. I can blame the lack of public transit. I can blame the lack of taxi cabs. I can blame the lack of a walkable city. But drunk driving is very common there, and I did it a lot. I have a lot of nights where I was on the road as a drunk driver, as a dangerous person. And one of the things I appreciate and thankful for is that I was the only one involved in my wreck. That if there had been anybody else in the car with me, or if I had hit anybody else, or had anything else, I don't know if I could live with myself for that. I mean, dealing with just what I damage I did for myself, and like to seeing how I hurt the people that love me, that is enough. If I had gone and messed up somebody else's life carelessly like that, oh, that's a whole other level of shame and guilt and sadness that I am so glad that I did not have that happen. Seriously, because I don't know, like and I could have easily had that happen, is what I realized also. She's saying, when I was very young, my mother would walk my sister and I across the street to school. That day, my sister was sick, so stayed home. We got hit by a tow truck making a left through a red light. Oh my gosh. You guys are all okay from that. Like, you're talking about, are you walking and they hit you? Like, I always worry about that here in the city because some of the big trucks take the corners real tight. And I've heard of people, like there was a famous story about a girl at King Street in Blue Jays Way, like down near there, that got ran over by a big truck standing on the corner because it didn't see her and it was turning a certain way. There are issues in Toronto with pedestrians and safety. There are people this summer that have been getting hit by cars, and I don't know if they're drunk or not, but there are people, pedestrians, that are getting killed and hit by people in accidents in the city this summer. In fact, there was one this past week. I think maybe in Regent Park. I think it was actually where it was, and stuff like that. So, Patrick, thank you. Yeah, life lessons, tough life lessons, and honestly, you know what? I mean, I'm not gonna blame anybody but myself. I was out of control and really, really like there were a lot of different things about my life at that time that were very out of control and that I had no reign on myself in any kind of way. G saying they suspected alcohol. Thankfully, my sister, whom always walked on the side my mom was hit, was sick. Just cuts and scrapes, no major injuries. That's really good to hear, G. I'm so happy to hear that there was no major injuries and stuff like that from that. But it's scary. It's very scary. Monique's saying that thumbnail got me thinking, can't believe you still have a picture of it. I have more pictures of the car. That's just the interior of the car. In that picture, you can see the green interior that I had for that Canadian made GM Chevrolet Monte Carlo that we bought here in Toronto right before we moved to Tallahassee when I was 4 years old. And when I turned 16, my folks let me have that car. And that car really did save my life. And it's my favorite car that I ever had my entire life, that Monte Carlo. Because I had all these childhood memories from riding around in it, going on trips. And then it was my first car. And it also saved my life. So there's a couple of things about that. But if you see the outside picture, in fact, I might post the picture, another link to a picture of the outside of the car, and you see how damaged the left side was. You be shocked that I survived it. And the thing that's in that picture for this stream that's in the middle is that's my father and my brother came to look at the car afterwards, and they put that sheet in the middle because that's where all my blood is. Like if that's not covered in the middle, you would see like a big, huge blood stain from where I was laying in the car. And the dash, and you see my radio and the steering wheel where it came over and pushed into me and stuff like that. Joseph Stark saying, "Sorry, I'm late. Freak shows." I was watching the new Rico Hines run. It looked like the two teams in the final game were made up of 9 Raptors. We just can't help but win, 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 win. Go Raptors. Yes, I'm going to watch that clip right after this. He started it right before getting on here. And Tom was talking about it earlier and stuff like that. I'm excited, right? Rico Hines, give us our daily supplement of Rico Hines runs, please. Skater Die's here. Good to see you, Skater Die. When I first moved back to Vermont, I watched a fatal accident happen and was the first person on scene. Changed my life forever. Love you, Lexi, and I'm very glad I found your channel. Awesome, Skater Die. I appreciate those nice words. You know, I've had a similar experience about that too. Like after that, I stayed living in that same place near where I wrecked. Like I said, I wrecked maybe like 800 yards from my front door. I was almost home. That's why I try to get out and just go home. You know, it's a really crazy turn, and it's in a college neighborhood for the university. So there's a lot of students in that area. And, you know, a couple of years later, like not many years later, maybe 2 or 3 years after this, I was sitting in my house in that same road that I wrecked on. I heard a loud crash one night. And I went outside and I walked out there, and it was another wreck. And the dude had gone through the windshield and was in the road, and he was bleeding real bad. And I was the first person on the scene, just like what you're talking about, Skater Die. And it was gruesome, and it was full circle, and it was weird because I had had my experience 2 or 3 years earlier. And now I'm the first person on the scene trying to help somebody else. And I was the one who called 911 and was like, "Hey, somebody get here. This dude just went through the windshield outside my house." And it was freaky. And it was so weird to kind of see it from the other side. Like there's all kinds of weird perspectives. A friend of mine from high school, his brother was on the crew that cut me out of the car with the jaws of life. And he saw me that night, and he saw me afterwards, and he told me about his perspective and stuff like that. He saw what I looked like. He's like, "Man, we weren't sure if you were going to make it. Seriously, like we ripped that roof off your car and pulled you out of there like a sardine out of a tin can and stuff like that." It's crazy. It is crazy. You know, the other thing about this road is that they ended up closing the road. Like this is the craziest thing. They ended up like tearing it up and ripping it out and changing that area and building that mission area. I was talking about the Spanish mission, more area for it to have for tours and reenactments like I was talking about. They took the road away where I wrecked. And I like to say that I beat the road. It's like, how often does a road try and kill you and you outlive the road? I know that's a little cute and stupid, but it's true. The road does not exist anymore, and I'm still here. So I think that's something. I guess that's an accomplishment that I beat a road. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. Anyway, all right, let's see. Joseph Starks, Skater Die. Let's see. G saying 6 surgeries. Yeah. Well, like, let me show you guys. Like on my left leg here, you can see the scar right here. This is where the bone came out completely. And, you know, I still have the rod in my leg, and it was really cool to see how the bone recalcified. Like I literally lost this much of my femur bone, came out and was just gone. And they had to stretch my leg out, slide the rod in, and then let the rod be the bone for a while and have the bone grow around it and stuff like that. It's crazy. Like if I go through any metal detectors, I put it off because I got a lot of metal in my body right now, still in my elbow and my leg and stuff like that. So yeah, Raymond Jacobs saying, "What do we say to the God of death? Not today." Yeah. Yeah, it could have been that day. That was the closest I ever came. And I'm going to tell you, being 18 and having a near-death experience and really seeing like the truth about getting in that weird area where you're between life and death, it really, really opened my eyes up and made me realize a lot of things. Now, I wish I could say I've lived a perfect life since and really learned that lessons correctly, but that's not true. I've still made mistakes and had a lot of problems in my life. But it really did make me understand and respect death itself a little bit better. Like, I'm not totally afraid of it because I've seen what it is to an extent and understand it a little bit more than some other people. Like, I know other people have near death experience like me, and it's a similar kind of thing. All right, let's see. Monique's saying the NBA starts on the 18th. That couldn't come soon enough. That's my thoughts on this, Monique, that it could not come soon enough. Yes, I can't wait for the NBA. I'm with you, Monique. And she's saying, I have a rod in my back before my back wasn't straight. That's good. See, her and I, we both have rods in our body that help us with things and stuff like that. Monique, someday I really want to know more about your story. In fact, that could be a really interesting podcast or a live stream or something on some channel or something where somebody just sits down and you can tell your story when you feel comfortable telling it and what you feel comfortable telling it about. I think that would be a really rewarding a really rewarding content for you and enlightening and allowing everybody else to understand your experience more is a great idea. I love it. Lolita saying, thank you for sharing your story. God bless you, Lolita, and thank you for being here on the regular. I really appreciate you being a regular here all the time and like all the comments and different things you're saying all the time. And I'm just lucky to be alive and be here and to be able to interact with you guys. This could have never happened. Seriously, I could have never known who Vince Carter or Scotty Barnes or Chris Bosh or DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry were. That they would never mattered or it wouldn't have been, I wouldn't have been here for it. Raymond Jacobs saying, whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Yes. There's a lot of truth in that. Lil Ricky saying, did you see that nurse who was intoxicated in America, who was on the phone arguing with her boyfriend and at like 80 miles per hour ran through an intersection running into another vehicle? That is absolutely awful. We just seen recently Anne Hesh died. She was in a very serious car accident in LA, and that's why she died recently. She was brain dead, and they had to pull the plug, and that's really, really sad. I've seen some crazy clips, like viral clips. There's this one clip in LA where there's very busy traffic, and this dude just flying through. This may be the clip Lil Ricky's talking about. They just come flying in the intersection. They take out like 3 different cars and go right, and it's just a big ball of flame, and the traffic just keeps moving. It's like the people that were behind them, oh, we missed it. We'll just keep going. It's like everybody just keeps driving, and there's a boom. It's the craziest clip. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's so crazy. Tom Duke, I appreciate your welcome. I've shared this story in many different places, AA rooms, on the radio, and now it's just the day to do it for this channel. And I'll tell you what, I won't probably do it like this ever again. This is my one shot of telling the story on this day on this channel. Even when 35 or whatever anniversaries come up, I might just mention it, but I'm not going to go in depth like I am today, where it's like, seriously, I'll talk about every little bit about it. Little Ricky's saying she killed 6 people and the mom was pregnant. It's crazy the nurse survived. She's in jail right now. The video's on YouTube. It happened last week. I'm wondering if that's the same clip. Listen, this is what happens is I hate to say it. The drunk driver like survives a lot of times because they're so relaxed. In fact, that may be part of the reason why I survived. Is that I didn't, when you get in a wreck, if you're all tensed up, right, when you hit something like, you can take more trauma because your body's all tensed up and you have more blood pumping, then it'll come shooting out when you wreck. Now, if you're asleep and you're kind of relaxed and your flow is not really high, you can survive longer because you're not pumping out more blood. And that's exactly what happened with me. Is that I had such a high blood alcohol content and I was sleeping already when I wrecked that I took the blow of the force and moved with it instead of pushing against it like rigidly. And it caused me to have a higher chance of survival. And that is big reason why drunk drivers often survive the crashes and other people don't. And that's sad. And it sucks. I hate hearing about this. Raymond said, did you lose your license for DUI? Does the states also have a demerit point system? Yeah. I've lost my license in Florida at least 3 times. Like I said, I got DUIs in 2010 after my divorce. I still got DUIs after this one. And that's the kind of thing that I was kind of trying to say at the beginning of this. In '94, if they had maybe thrown the book at me a little harder, the laws weren't as harsh in Tallahassee, in Florida, on DUIs at that point. They changed them mid '90s after my DUI because I got DUI later in 2010, and the penalties were much harsher at that time. Look, if it comes to DUI, if there's anything that has to do with when you get a DUI and getting punished, I've done it. Whether it's spent time in jail, whether it's spent time on probation, whether it's having a breathalyzer to start your car, whether it's you have to go to a place and take alcohol checks daily, and you have to pay like $60 for each one, whether it's community service, fines, court, lawyers, everything that has to do with getting DUIs. I know all about it. I've been to DUI school 3 times. I've been to advanced DUI school. I've got a graduate degree in DUI school. Let's just put it that way. And it sucks. It all sucks. It's all a bunch of money, and it's just horrible. It's horrible, and it's good. The punishments are good, but the punishments up here are much worse. Down there, you like if I got one more DUI down there, I might lose my license for life. But I don't drink anymore, and I don't really drive anymore because I don't have a car here in Toronto. So it's like those two things are not mixed together in my life anymore. I love driving, and I could drive, and I'm a good driver. I have an Ontario license. I'm fine. But in Florida, I fought some of the DUIs in court and got them not guilty. I actually had a trial with a jury, and they found me not guilty with a judge and everything in one of them. Now, if that one had counted, I might have lost my license because overall, because they poo-poo them too. Like they'll change the law, they'll change the crime you got. They won't give you a full DUI. They'll give you a lesser charge of reckless driving or a lesser charge of careless driving, either. And those have different levels of things. I have all kinds of crazy drunk driving stories, like stories where I outran the cops when they're chasing me. Things where I've ran into parked cars and then run off and took off, all kinds of crazy stories. And I could tell them at other times, but I'm not going to tell them all right now. This really is just about this first crazy wreck that I had and stuff like that. But yeah, I lost my license. There's all kinds of things in the books. Like if you Google me, you will find my pictures of being like my holding up the sign, and that's all from my DUIs and stuff like that. G saying at Lil Ricky, that was sad. A baby was killed as well as the pregnant mom. Yeah, that's awful. I hope that's not that same clip that I'm seeing. It's viral right now. Where it's in LA, and that car is just going so fast, and it just and takes out all these other cars real quick. Lil Ricky saying, gee, yeah, you saw that. Shaking my head. That was brutal to watch. Family never saw it coming. Yeah, never saw it coming. That's the thing you got to realize. Holy crap. Thank your lucky stars and stuff like that. There's nothing you can do to avoid that if it's coming that quick and somebody's being that irresponsible. Yeah, details are horrible. Lil Ricky saying, gee, that nurse driving record was atrocious. She never even should have had a license. See, that's the other thing I'm saying is there should be harsher penalties. That they're letting people get away with driving still. People drive without a license and drunk drive. They should be in jail and in big trouble because, a lot of them are repeat offenders. I was until I got sober. And, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of drunk drivers that are habitual and they continue to be allowed to drive and stuff like that. It's like, what the crazy? So I'm really for stricter law enforcement on drunk driving, like they do here in Ontario, like they do in other countries. But in the States, it's not as much like that. It's kind of lenient at times and stuff like that. Because, like, look, G's saying she had 13 accidents before that. What? That is crazy. There's no way she should have been driving. There is no way. Monique saying, Lex, have you watched the movie Crip Camps? It's about the disability ADA on Netflix. No, I haven't seen that film in particular. Monique, I want to tell you a little bit about my background. When I grew up in Florida, my neighbor across the street had CP, And he was like my second dad, like when I was growing up. He drove me to school all the time and spent a lot of time like being a father figure to me, like in different ways, like as being a father in the neighborhood and say, teaching the kids around, stuff like that. But he had CP and he had a pretty severe case of CP. And he was able to be just like a regular dad in all kinds of different ways. Like I said, he drove us to school. He did everything like that. So I learned very young about that disability in particular and how it really doesn't limit people in a lot of ways. Like people up here are very smart and very like all kinds of things. And the person I'm talking about, Mr. Harder, who passed this year, unfortunately, he was a big advocate and lobbyist for ADA rights and things like that in Tallahassee. In fact, he was the one who was getting ramps and accessibility codes for businesses in the city of Tallahassee and stuff like that. So I'm quite familiar with that kind of advocacy and fighting for accessibility for people like you, Monique. And that it was a really big part actually from when I was a kid, because I called him my second dad. He's like, I got my dad, and then like the neighborhood dad was Mr. Harder. And sadly, like I said, he passed earlier this year in spring, and I was very sad about it. But he had a huge impact on me as far as the way I look at CP and certain other kind of things that people deal with and stuff like that. I really have a better, more well-rounded information and understanding about it, just because of my experience as a younger person. All right. Listen, if you guys have any more questions about this, I know this is a little bit off the trail of the normal content here and stuff like that. I just felt like, as I normally do on August the 15th, I need to talk about the day I almost died and why drunk driving is horrible and wrong, and you can wreck people's lives real easy. I'm a drunk driver. I am a person who did a lot of stupid shit when I was younger, and I am not proud of it. And I plead with anybody who's living that kind of lifestyle now to stop, to please get help, or at least just separate the two. If you're going to have an alcohol problem, go ahead and have an alcohol problem, but keep your keys away from you and stuff like that. So let's see. Monique's saying, people always still don't think I'm capable. I don't need help 24/7. Yeah, that's the thing. Mr. H, he was married and had sons, and he was exactly like a dad. Like he didn't have any like helpers or anything like that. He did everything on his own and everything and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna, listen, Monique, you and I want to do way more stuff, whether it's Raptor stuff, whether it's the trading card stuff we're talking about, like at the meet and greet and stuff like that. That there's cool content that I know you and I can make together and stuff like that, and really get people more informed and understanding about certain issues and different things and stuff like that. Tom Duke saying, thanks for being real, Monique. Thank you. You rock. That's right, Monique. You rock. And like I said, guys, we're going to do a meet and greet on August 26th at 7:00 at Noonan's at Broadview and Danforth. If you come to Broadview subway station, Noonan's is on the south side of Danforth, just a little bit over from, I think that's a Tim Hortons on the corner. Yeah. And we'll be there. Monique and I will be there at 7:00, and hopefully other people will come. Raymond Jacobs says he's coming, and you can come meet both of us in person. And I'll do a live stream there. And Monique and I are going to trade some basketball cards and stuff. I'm going to trade her some Michael Jordans because I got some extra Michael Jordans, Monique. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to see if I can get you some Michael Jordans from back in the days and get you some good Michael Jordans and stuff like that. Some Magic Johnson, maybe like that stuff. And we're going to trade cards, and you guys can meet us in person and hang out with us for a little bit. 7:00, August 26th, Noonan's. It's a Friday night. Yeah. Yeah. I was a wasted Ute. I was not a wasted Ute from Brampton, though. I was not a waste Ute. All right, just start saying, who knew our Maple YouTube sensation Raptor Freak was also a trailblazer? Oh my gosh, not a Portland trailblazer, but yeah. Are you talking about Monique? Yeah, she's definitely a trailblazer. I'm not myself. Okay, let's see. Monique's saying that post on representation on Facebook got hit me. Yeah. All right, guys. All right, I think I've wrapped up things pretty much. Congratulations to the Honey Badgers on winning the CEBL. Christian Vital, you look good doing it. I'm not going to be a hater like Drake was. Congratulations to those guys. We had good representation of Team Canada. the Raptors, the 905, and stuff like that in the CEBL championship game. Once again, I'm not a big fan of the Elam ending just because I don't like free throws to determine the game, especially a ref's whistle. And I think Drake has a point about this, that they shouldn't be allowing free throws to decide the game and then everybody just goes home. It's much more fun when it's a big shot to win. So maybe they should make a rule where you can't win on free throws. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Shooting Stars did make a big comeback, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And Drake really wanted that win. You could tell he's talking all kinds of trash afterwards and stuff like that. All right, don't drink and drive. Seriously, if there's one thing that I could say, like we've done the trivia recently, and different players have different philanthropy and interests and advocates. Well, one of the biggest ones that I'm an advocate for is against drunk driving. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You feel good, you feel like celebrating, stay home or get somebody else to drive you or get a ride, get the TTC, taxi, whatever. Just don't do it. Don't make any kind of excuse. Don't say, oh, it's not that far. Oh, it won't be a big deal. It is a big deal. And that mistakes and bad things can happen in all kinds of different ways. So just don't do it. Isaac Campbell is saying, courage, my friend. Many people run from it. Glad you found your voice. Yeah, Isaac, I hear you, man. I hear you. And yeah, listen, I maybe I shouldn't be sharing all this. I could easily just be not very ashamed of it and not putting it out there for public knowledge and stuff like that. But I feel like that's not the way to be. That it's better for me to be out there and talking about it and letting everybody understand that it is very dangerous and messed up, and you can really screw your life up. Now, one thing I will say, because my arm doesn't straighten out, it's actually made me a better basketball shooter. I couldn't shoot before my wreck, but because of the wreck, my arm is actually at the right angle for my jump shot. So I could actually get that's one of the weird things and stuff like that that was a byproduct of it. I actually became a good basketball shooter because of this, because my arm was already set. But of course, I'm limited. I can't stretch it out, so I can't block shots that way, but I'm really good at blocking with my right. Stuff like that. All right, see Raymond Jacobs saying, how about smoking weed and driving? Yeah, that's not usually a good thing to do. Yeah. But, I don't know. I don't want to talk about this too much because in some ways I don't see the parallels in some ways. In some ways I do. In some ways I don't. But in some ways, let's just not go there right now, Raymond Jacobs. It was about drunk driving, drinking and driving and stuff like that. Anyway, all right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Trivia. It'll be another classic Jurassic. I won't let you know who it is until you'll find out maybe tonight or in the morning. And please come play trivia. And I seen David, you resubscribe. So Raymond Jacob, don't think that David is gone, because he is back and he will be here tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. He may not be here today, but he will definitely be back tomorrow because he's resubscribed yesterday. And that's telling me that he's serious about still continuing to play and stuff like that. So 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, Raptors Freak Classic Jurassic Trivia, where we'll do trivia on a classic Raptor, a deep dive on one particular Raptor. You don't know who it is yet, but you'll find out tomorrow. All right, thanks for joining me. G's in second. You're not even top three. Well, Raymond Jacob, you're up there. You're fourth or something like that. You can get up there. Tom is up there. That's right. Tom is on his way up. Tom is third or second. You're third. Yeah, he just jumped over you, but it's very close. It's very close. So come play trivia with Raymond and Tom and David and G. These are the leaders right now, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and you usually learn something about the Raptor or something like that. Let's go, team. Let's go, Raptor freaks. Let's go, everybody. I'm playing trivia. Let's go, Raptors. Let's go, Honey Badgers. It sounds so weird. Let's go, Honey Badgers.